Our next speech will be a real treat for those of you who also love the Christmas season. Rick Barron will be giving a speech from the Storytelling Manual. This is Project 1, and the title of his speech is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Please welcome Rick Barron.
Thank you, Darren. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. We really don't quite know the reason. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight, or maybe his head just wasn't screwed on just right. But I think that the most likely reason of all was that the Grinch's heart was a few sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Whos. For he knew every Who down in Whoville below was busy hanging a hollyhoo wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming, I must find a way to keep Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, I know all the Who girls and boys will wake bright and early to play with their toys. And then, oh, the noise. There's one thing I can't stand. It's the noise, noise, noise. Then the Whos, young and old, will sit down to a feast. And they'll feast, and they'll feast, and they'll feast, feast, feast. And then they'll do something I hate most of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, they'll stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'll stand hand in hand, and they'll all start singing. And they'll sing, and they'll sing, and they'll sing, sing, sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years, I've put up with it now. I must stop Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat. I'll make a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And then he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and this hat, I'll look just like Saint Nick. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he whistled for Max. Then the Grinch said, giddy up, and the sleigh started down towards the homes where the Whos lay a snooze in their town. This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed as he climbed the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a minute or two, then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue. Where the little Who stockings all hung in a row, these stockings, he Grinched, are the first thing to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every present. Then the Grinch, very nimbly, stuffed all the bags, one by one, up the chimney. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. Now, grinned the Grinch, I will stuff up the tree. As the Grinch took the tree, as he started to shove, he heard a small coo, like the sound of a dove. He turned around fast, and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou Who was no more than 2. She stared at the Grinch and she said, Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why? But you know, that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. I'm taking it from here to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, and I'll bring it back here. His fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. When Cindy Lou Who was asleep with her cup, he crept to the chimney, and he stuffed the tree up. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar, and the last thing he took was the log for their fire. On their walls, he left nothing but hooks and some wire, and the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was too small even for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for their mouses. It was 1:15. All the Who's still in bed. All the Who's still a snooze when he packed up his sled. 10,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-hoo to the Who's, he was grinchily humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open for a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo. That's a noise, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. He paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound. Rising over the snow, it started in low, then it started to grow. But this sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded glad. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came somehow or another. It came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could this be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. He puzzled and puzzled until his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, is a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say, that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the true meaning of Christmas came through, and the Grinch found strength of 10 Grinches plus 2. And now that his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light. With a smile in his soul, he descended Mount Crumpet, cheerfully blowing hoo-hoo on his trumpet. He rode into Whoville. He brought back their toys. He brought back their floof to the boys and the girls. He brought everything back, all the food for their feast, and the Grinch even got to carve the roast beast. Welcome, Christmas. Bring your cheer, cheer to all who's far and near. Christmas Day is in our grasp, so long as we have hands to grasp. Christmas Day will always be just as long as we have we. Welcome Christmas while we stand, heart in heart and hand in hand. Merry Christmas.